2 with Rob
and Scott.
And we will be recapping week 1, the action from week 1. It was a crazy one as usual. And going into week 2, game predictions and picks. So, week 1 was crazy. So this is the thing I kind of wonder every year, is week 1 always seems to be like the craziest week. And I don't know if that's just like perception, like, oh, like the NFL's back. Week 1 is, it's just crazy just because it's the first real football we've seen in, months. Or is it actually just like objectively crazy? Because it seems to be like just wild every year.
It's always all the hype and the projection and everything you thought over months and months.
Yeah.
All of a sudden it comes out and it's different. That's probably one of the reasons why it's so crazy.
Yeah, it's like we all have our like preconceived notions and stuff, and we all have, we've had months to just agonize and just pour over who's going to be good, and we all have our set things, and then bam, week 1 comes out and just obliterates all of it. But then I feel like it usually comes back around towards the middle of the year. So pretty much what we originally thought.
You come back towards the median as it goes along.
And there's a couple teams that fall out, but I feel like for the most part, like we end up, our original thought is what ends up being right. Like, there's the week run overreactions, like the Vikings are the best team and the Eagles are, amazing and stuff like that. And then, sometimes, usually those come back around. It's like, okay, the Chiefs are the Chiefs, the Packers are the Packers, and, we're back to where we started here. But there are a couple times where that team that is like, okay, week 1 they are great, but are they really going to be good? They actually end up being pretty good. And I feel like that was kind of the Bengals last year, but, who will be the good teams this year is for us to wonder.
We will soon find out.
Yeah, I mean, because the Vikings did look good. And it's kind of hard to tell whether a team looks good or the opposing defense looks bad. But I think in that case, the Vikings offense looked really good in that game to me, as a Packer fan.
I mean, we'd mentioned in episode 1 too how we thought that the Vikings did have a good offense.
Yeah.
They do have a lot of good weapons there. And Justin Jefferson looks like he's going to be in for an absolute monster year.
Oh, yeah. I don't know how I missed him in my Offensive Player of the Year predictions there. He's just a monster. The Vikings are going to give the Packers a run for their money, I think, this year. A lot of people are really high on them. I think Dominique on ESPN, he had them as the best NFC team of every team throughout week 1. Although he did say, he defended it by saying just purely based on week 1 performance. But
fair enough then.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, kind of fair. That's kind of the thing with power rankings. I never quite understand. I feel like there's different criteria. Everyone kind of views power rankings differently. Like, for me, I view it as just what do I think the best teams are. Like, maybe the Packers had a bad week, in week 1, but I think they're still overall better than the Vikings. So therefore, I'd have them above the Vikings if I were to make a power rankings list. But I feel like some people view it as just what your resume is, like just what you have done, purely off that, and they just go from there. In which case, you'd have to give the nod to the Vikings, but I don't know. That's not how I would do it.
That's part of what makes power rankings and things like that so much fun, because it's up for discussion so much. It's not actually set in stone.
Yeah.
There's always lots of room for discussion and arguments and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, and everyone's is different.
Yeah, you'll never get everybody 100% happy with a power rankings
list. No,
list.
My gosh, always some angry fan. Well, my team's better than your team. We run the ball. Because running backs aren't outdated at all. All right, with that being said, we go to the Thursday night game, which people have forgotten about. That's kind of the one thing about Thursday night games, is that by Sunday, that game is ancient history. But we still haven't forgotten over here that Bills' absolute demolishing of the Los Angeles Rams. Pretty awesome to see as Bills fan and supporters here. So what did you see from that game that really encouraged you about the Bills?
The overhauled defensive line looked absolutely incredible.
Dominant.
I mean, without blitzing all game, you get 7 sacks. Like, just crazy production of that defensive line. Seriously. You really couldn't have asked for anything more out of them.
Yeah. And, the young guys, Carlos Basham and, Boogie Basham, and, he really popped to me in that game. He didn't have much... decent enough rookie year, but I feel like with defensive ends, it takes them a couple years to really find their stride. Like with Rashawn Gary on Green Bay, first year was underwhelming, very. And I was like, oh boy, did we waste our pick here? And then second year, he kind of picks up. Third year, just a monster. So I think, Carlos Bassem was like really impressive to me in that game. I noticed him, right? I noticed his impact in that game.
Also coming late with the interceptions.
Yeah, crazy. Yeah, the whole offensive or defensive line for Buffalo, I was quite surprised because looking at who they had early in the year, there's not too many names that just like jump out at you. Obviously, besides Von Miller, if you're not a Bills fan and followed the team for a while. But yeah, I was definitely surprised. Although you got to wonder how much of that is the offensive line for the Rams without Whitworth there holding everything down. But I don't know. It looked pretty down to me. So, and go ahead.
It'll be interesting to see how it paces out as the season goes along. If they can
sustain
that. Obviously, nothing quite that high, but still a pretty good number.
Well, I think having Von Miller there is really giving these other guys an opportunity to show what they can do. Because now you have that guy that everyone's going to be double teaming him and
for sure.
Yeah. It's like the Jadeveon Clowney thing with when he was playing with J.J. Watt for so long. Like, J.J. Watt just opened up that the rest of that line for all those players. And it's just, like, the Texans were a better team for it, even though maybe J.J. Watt won't get as many sacks because of that. Because of being known as that guy. Like, it's a better overall production. And I think that makes the Bills, a lot more dangerous. And really, defensive ends, I think that's the most important part of a defense to me, is the defensive line. If they can't get pressure, then it doesn't matter how good your coverage is. It doesn't matter what your linebackers are doing. Receivers are going to get open. Quarterback's going to find someone. So for me, it starts and ends with the defensive line. Am I wrong in that? In that analysis?
That's definitely one theory on it. Over the pass rush versus coverage standpoint.
Yeah. I think if you're getting pressure, it makes it just like the quarterback's world is just turned upside down if he's under pressure.
A lot of times, yes. That's why it's such a big deal for when you talk about poise in a quarterback and pocket presence.
Oh yeah,
being able to hold up under that kind of thing.
Yeah, very. That's like the underrated skill that people don't realize. I feel like we're looking at these quarterbacks. Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. All of them are great mobile quarterbacks that can run around and just extend the plays. But some of those guys don't have the pocket presence, in my opinion, to be truly elite. Like Kyler Murray, and he does not seem comfortable in the pocket. And I think that's maybe because he's too short, to be quite honest. But he just doesn't seem like, he kind of wants to just get out of there, Like he wants to wheel out. It's just every time. And I kind of got there with Russell Wilson for a large part of his career. But I think Josh Allen has really adapted quite nicely, and now he's all-around quarterback in my opinion, and definitely plays it a little differently than most other guys. You don't see too many other quarterbacks embarrassing defensive backs like that. But he's definitely one of a kind. But I really the thing I was worried about with him this year is his pocket presence, but that first game definitely showed me improvement in that area. So I don't think if you're a Bills fan, you really have to. That game went as well as you could have imagined for the Bills.
For sure.
The fact you were able to still destroy the defending champs while 5 turnovers in that game? 4?
Yes, 4.
Your rookie running back fumbles on his first carry, and you still at 31-10. That's a blowout.
Yeah, it could have been a lot more.
I mean, it was opening day. It was Ozzy Osbourne, and they smacked him in the mouth. So. Yeah, I think Bills are probably number 1 in everyone's power rankings chart.
Well, it absolutely was this week. Every single major news outlet had them number 1.
Yeah, and I mean, you're crazy if you don't. I mean, they faced the best team going into the into this new year, and they killed them. So yes, very good there. All right, now let's go over some of our picks here for week 1. So we'll start with the 1 o'clock window here. Saints and Falcons. So Saints coming out of that 27-26. I think we both had the Saints in this one.
That's correct. We both went off of that.
Yeah, a little closer than I anticipated. And I mean the Falcons do what the Falcons do, leading the whole game. Then fourth quarter, the Saints realized, oh, this is the Falcons, guys. We got this. And cue the dramatic rally for the game-winning field goal at the end.
How about Jameis Winston? What a second half he had.
I know. So, very impressive. Very impressive. And Michael Thomas too. Like coming back 2 years of not playing football does not affect him at all. Has a great game, and of course he was wasting away on my bench in fantasy this week. Luckily, it didn't cost me though. Yeah. So Saints. I don't know. Did we really figure out much from that game? No, but we'll figure out a whole lot more this week against Tampa Bay.
Sure.
Then we got the 49ers Bears. A surprising loss for the 49ers, losing 19-10 in Chicago. What was that all about, Scott, as a 49er fan over there?
Man, a huge monsoon there. But even the rain shouldn't really be stopping a good offense. So there was a lot of questions this week about what Trey Lance really might be. Being missing George Kittle, maybe you can get some more going when he's back in the lineup.
For sure. Run game and pass game will be more effective there.
But I'll have my eyes on them again this week. See
Playing
how
Seattle, right?
Yes.
I mean, that you got to win that game. There's going to be some Jimmy G noise if they lose that one.
For sure.
And Elijah Mitchell spraining his MCL out for 2 months. I mean, not too worried about their running game though. They usually find a way, one way or another, to find production there. They've gone through so many running backs the last couple of years with Mostert, Breida, Frank Gore before that, and they always find a way to get good production there. But yeah, they're going to need to lean on it. I think Trey Lance, he needs all the help he can get. So I think it starts with the run for the 49ers to be sure. And, make play action off that. Don't leave him out to dry. Don't let him, he needs to just settle into it. Give him those easy throws. Build his confidence up. And then, see what he can really do, in the fourth quarter, in my opinion. But then we got probably the craziest game of the week, Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cincinnati Bengals. Steelers winning at 23-20 in Mitchell Trubisky's debut as a Steeler. What were your thoughts on this game? This was nuts.
Shocking win for Pittsburgh. Really never saw them even being competitive in this game with what we'd seen from the Bengals coming out of this last postseason.
Yeah.
But I mean, with the amount of interceptions that Joe Burrow had thrown,
oh my gosh,
the fact that that game was as close as it was really was
a miracle.
Yeah.
I mean, Minka Fitzpatrick saved that game. What a game. He 14 tackles, an interception, a pick six, and a blocked PAT at the end. I mean, they would not even be in this game at all if it wasn't for Minka Fitzpatrick.
Just nuts.
I mean, proving he's worth every penny of that massive contract.
Right. I think this game is really going to end up being as a good example for don't overreact to week one.
For sure. Because we all know Bengals are a lot better than the Steelers.
Yes.
And Mitchell Trubisky, I mean, not a terrible game. Some people are saying bench him already, but I mean, he played it safe. I think he didn't make the big mistake, the Mitchell Trubisky mistake. So I think if you're a Steelers fan, besides losing T.J. Watt for probably at least 6 weeks, there he doesn't need surgery on it, which is good. But I think you're pretty dang happy with how Week 1 went. And I don't know. I think Mitchell Trubisky should be fine this year. I don't think Kenny Pickett's going to be any better, but I think letting him sit behind Mitch just kind of, because the NFL can be really overwhelming. I think it's pretty much every quarterback will benefit from just kind of seeing how things are done, in the full length of a season before getting out there right away and starting, even if it is sitting behind, Mitch Trubisky. So I think that'll benefit them. I'm never counting the Steelers out though. It's kind of like the Patriots, except for even more, because Mike Tomlin has never, ever had a season below 500. So,
and this will be the year.
I disagree with that.
Mark my words, this will be the year.
No,
Steelers will have a losing season.
I'm not letting. We're not marking those words.
Yes, we are. Mark those words. Steelers will have a losing season. They suck.
Oh my god.
They were not a good team.
I'm gonna allow you to take those words back before we mark those.
Already marked.
Oh, okay. We'll
permanent marker. They're down.
Mark them. You're gonna be so wrong in that. Because, I mean, they improved this year. They got rid of a statue and a rotting tree in the back. They improved from last year, I'm telling you right now. And Najee Harris is a monster, man. He's a monster. I don't know. They play, who they play this week? I don't even know. But they're going to win.
We will get into that.
Yeah, we will. We will get.
So let's keep going over week 1 picks.
All right, week 1, who do we got next here?
Detroit and Philadelphia.
Okay. You want to get into this one first?
I believe we both were on Detroit for this one.
Yeah. You picked Detroit for this one?
Yes,
Yeah.
I did as well.
Although I think that's more of a case of you being low on the Eagles than high on the Lions.
Yes.
If I'm right, yeah. For me, it was the opposite. So, I like this game, though. This was a really exciting game. 38-35, came down to the wire. Detroit really mounting a comeback. So, Detroit, this is like a very signature Lions game. Like, they got down early. Halftime, it was 24-14. End of the third quarter, it was 38-21. So, down to, 17 points. And then fourth quarter, they come roaring back and, lose. But a good effort. So this is kind of what we saw from them last year. Good effort and making it close. But, I think this is the year that they're going to finally start winning some of these games if Jared Goff doesn't get in their way. That's really the only thing I'm concerned about with them.
Yeah, I do as well think the Lions have a chance to make some noise this season.
Oh, for sure. Their running back, their backfield is highly underrated. DeAndre Swift is a monster. 15 carries, 144 yards, almost averaging 10 yards per carry that game with the touchdown. And then Jamal Williams is as good as a secondary running back as you'll find. And some good targets now he's got for Jared Goff. St. Brown, Chark, and Hawkinson. That's pretty decent, in today's NFL. So yeah, I think the Lions definitely can make some noise. Eagles, Jalen Hurts, 18 for 32. So that needs to get better. But see, in contrast, I think the Eagles' backfield is the most overrated backfield in the NFL. Miles Sanders, Kenneth Gainwell, Boston Scott. I mean, what is so good about this? I keep hearing about how the Eagles have one of the best running games in the NFL, but I have yet to see Miles Sanders live up to the hype.
And they're certainly all guys there, but yeah, I agree with you at least some level there.
Right, but I don't know. Miles Sanders is he was Barkley's backup, right? And then he comes out and he plays a lot like Barkley in the sense he gets hurt every year. But I mean, they got A.J. Brown, they got Dallas Goedert. So if Jalen Hurts can pull it all together, they do definitely have something there. But that remains to be seen because we didn't really. Let's be honest, the Lions' defense isn't all that great. All right, next we got New England Patriots, Miami Dolphins here. Dolphins winning this game. I believe we both had the Dolphins.
That would be correct.
All right, so not much of a surprise. Patriots on offense, being controlled by two defensive coordinators, and it sure looked like it.
Yeah.
It sure looked like it. They looked bad. I mean, very, very bad. Not encouraging if you're a Patriots fan there.
No.
And Dolphins didn't look all that great to me either. It just this is a very boring game. I'm going to be honest, I didn't watch it too much. I was mostly glued to that Lions-Eagles game. But I think we were both... this didn't surprise us from either team.
No, I don't believe so at all. It was pretty much one as I assumed it would.
Yeah, he's pretty much to a T. As did the Ravens and Jets game. Joe Flacco throwing it 50 times, trying to get his revenge. Did not even come close. 24-9. And we both had the Ravens in this one.
Ravens dominate, just as expected.
Yeah. And Jacksonville Jaguars, Washington Commanders. So I think you had the Jags in this one, right?
I did.
And I did have the Commanders. They win 28-22. Carson Wentz looking pretty good. Pretty good. Beating the team that beat him in the last week that led him to be traded.
Really an unexpected good week for Carson Wentz.
Wait, so this was another revenge game if you think about it.
Yeah, it was. Not one that was really talked about either.
Yeah, I know, but I mean...
In a way it was.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean... It's not like the Commanders going to be great this year, but definitely Carson Wentz played a lot better than I thought he was going to.
Yeah, some promising signs from them.
Yeah, there's a ray of hope for the Commanders. So Cleveland Browns, Carolina Panthers. Browns winning with a last-second field goal from Cade York. Whew, that Browns kicking rotation the last couple of years has been quite the experience. But they ruined Baker Mayfield's revenge bid. Alas, I had the Panthers winning this one.
I had the Browns.
Okay, yeah. So I wanted to go with the Browns, but I thought Baker was really gonna show him who he really is. Decided to take a week off on this one though.
Yeah, a little bit shaky in the first half. Put together a couple nice touchdowns at the end, but not enough.
It's so strung together some decent drives, but I don't know. I wouldn't be too concerned over this one if I'm a Carolina fan. Although I feel like I'm kind of surprised the Giants are actually favored to beat them this week. Giants did have a hot start, but that seems a little extreme to me. Colts Texans tying in week 1.
Another stunner of the week here.
Yeah, maybe the most surprising game of the week.
Houston up big.
Yeah.
Ended up squandering the lead.
Right, as they do. Mark of a bad team right there. But I don't know. I wouldn't be overly concerned if I'm a Colts fan. Like Matt Ryan, first game with the team. The fact that they were able to come back and tie it shows that they're a good team to me.
But to be down that much to the Texans, it gets you thinking a little bit. But again, we're back to our point. Don't overreact.
Yeah, there's so little that is revealed, and it's just 1 week of football. Anything could go wrong. Anything can happen.
But to another point, are the Texans better than we thought?
Possibly. Davis Mills looked pretty darn good to me. Like, he looked pretty poised.
Yes, he did.
With not much talent around him, that good Colts defense, that was pretty impressive.
Although with that coaching by Lovie Smith, I don't know if they have much chance.
No, that needs to end and end quickly.
Some bad decisions to punt there.
Yeah. That's one of these things.
They're just playing for a tie.
Yeah.
What's the point? Let's carry some momentum in with that tie.
I know. Woo! Yeah. Woo! That tie's gonna look good on our schedule there. We tied the Colts, boys. Tie's as good as a loss. Come on, boys. What are we doing here? That's one of the most frustrating things from a coach that you can do. That's one thing Brandon Staley will never do. He may be aggressive, but I like that. Go down swinging, man.
Absolutely.
You will never win a game by giving it to the other team. All right? You're never going to win a game by punting the ball. Punting doesn't score points. Come on. You got to have a little gumption. The analytics support too. So
for sure.
Green Bay Packers, Minnesota Vikings. 23-7. I had the Vikings winning this.
And I had the Packers.
Yeah, so...
Surprising flip there. What we usually do. Usually I pick against the Packers every time and you pick for them.
Yeah, yes.
This year we swapped.
This game went as expected for me. So Vikings come out looking good. Packers' first play sums up the entire game. And it was just the most... you couldn't have scripted that play any better. 1st and 10. All right, Packers offense. What are they going to look like? What are the receivers going to do? Aaron Rodgers drops back in the pocket, bombs a 75-yarder. Oh, it's Christian Watson, and look at him, drops the ball. First play, once I saw it, I'm like, yeah, this game's over. And from there on, just completely flat. Did not have a chance. So let's move on there, guys. We just gotta forget about it. Move on to the Bears. Hopefully, beating a team that we own will make us feel better. But Kansas City Chiefs, Arizona Cardinals. I picked the Cardinals in this one.
And I had the Chiefs.
Just
a shellacking by the Chiefs.
Oh my gosh, crazy!
And Kansas City could just score a will there.
Yeah, seriously.
Patrick Mahomes was completely on his game there. Looked really good.
Right, and I think it solidifies the point that a lot of people made that they're just more unpredictable now without Tyreek Hill because they can hit you from anywhere.
They've got just such a more deep wide receiver room now.
Right.
They just got more options. I like their wide receiver core better, and I believe I said last episode as well that they have now than last year without Tyreek Hill, just due to how many options they have.
Yeah, because you still got your Hardman is just your speed demon, and Valdes-Scantling has some wheels on him. And then you got your big underneath guys, Kelsey and Juju.
And not to mention rookie Sky Moore, who will come in later in the year.
Yeah, he's going to be good. So Chiefs are still the Chiefs, as to the surprise of none in this room. And then we got the Giants and Titans.
One I believe we both missed on.
Probably the upset of the week. Giants beating the Titans 21-20 here, and we both picked the Titans.
Yeah. Really surprised win in Brian Daboll's first game as a coach.
Yeah.
But a cool thing to see from them.
Yeah, surprise of the week, Saquon Barkley.
What a game by him.
Oh my gosh. A comeback player of the week for sure.
Absolutely.
I to be honest, he was one of those players I just marked down as stay away from in all my fantasy drafts. But I could definitely tell kudos to him for getting that recovery, taking it seriously, and coming back strong. Yeah, I think the Giants, they're in a good spot right now because Brian Daboll is already, affecting that team's morale and just kind of the whole vibe. Coming out with a big win over the Titans, that's huge for them. So, they got a shot. Their schedule is actually pretty forgiving. So, let me just pull up their schedule here. So, yeah, looking at the Giants' schedule, they got the Panthers this week. They're favored in it. They got Dallas, which all of a sudden turns into a pretty winnable game with Cooper Rush. Then they face the Bears at home. These are all home games, these next three.
So maybe
they can win all three of those games.
So maybe you see the Giants off to a much better start than anybody else predicted.
Yeah. I mean, they win those games. They're 4-0 to start.
Pretty crazy to think about.
Yeah. And I may pick them in all of these games. Like, I don't know. It's crazy. And then they got, Green Bay and London, the Ravens, Jags and Seahawks, and Texans. So even if they drop those two to Green Bay and Baltimore, you got three more that you'll probably win 7-2 if all goes well. I mean, I don't want to say it, but I'm thinking it. And with how weak that division is, I mean, I know it's week 1, I know, but
possible, mark my words, coming up
okay.
in the coming weeks.
We'll
not yet, but
we'll keep our eye on that one.
It's got that one little asterisk next to it here.
Watch my words here. All right, on to the next game. Las Vegas Raiders and the Los Angeles Chargers revenge game for the Chargers, and they get their revenge, winning 24-19, as I think we both predicted.
Yes, we did.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, a bit underwhelming, to be honest. I thought this game was going to be a high-scoring shootout, more of a defensive game, but still both teams showing that they're well-rounded and are going to both be contenders this year.
Yes.
And Devontae Adams just... that move he put on Asante Samuel, I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, crazy.
Oh my gosh, yeah. It's going to be hard to watch the Raiders this year.
And that trade, I think, is going to work out quite well for the Raiders.
Yeah.
Devontae Adams, most targeted player in week 1.
It's
and a great week for him.
It's painful. It's fun to watch as a fan of the league, but it is painful to watch as a Packer fan. I can tell you that right now.
Oh, yeah.
But Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Dallas Cowboys, most boring game of the entire week, 19-3.
Yeah, not a good one in terms of my parlay. I had the over on passing yards for both Prescott and Brady, so obviously on that one. But
major miss on that. Prescott getting hurt, never like to see it. He's got like a thumb thing going on. They didn't put him on IR. They're gonna try to rush him back. It sounds like, which that does not sound like a good idea at all to me. Because Russell Wilson had a thumb injury last year, and he missed 6 to 7 weeks. Comes back, and he admitted afterwards it was too soon. Like they rushed it, and now they're talking about 4 weeks for Prescott. That's just stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. Like you want to be competitive, but come on.
It comes at a point.
Yeah. I mean, that just shows you have no confidence in your backup at all. Like at all. Like we're risking our starting quarterback's health because we just have no confidence in anyone on our team besides Dak. So yeah.
But we're gonna go on the radio and say that our team runs through Ezekiel Elliott.
Yeah. Well, Jerry, I mean, he can convince anyone of anything. So he's one of a kind there. Tampa Bay. I mean, they're Tampa Bay. Tom Brady was Tom Brady.
A bit underwhelming, but they're gonna do just fine.
Yeah. And well, this is also probably an upset of the week here. This one of the Giants won. Seahawks beating the Broncos 17-16, and a great atmosphere in Seattle. We were both wrong in this game.
Yes, we were. But I mean, quite entertained. Surprisingly, I was.
Oh my gosh, it was great. I mean, the Broncos outplayed them, to be honest. For being honest here, two
fumbles on the 1 yard
line.
1 yard line. Like that's the kind of thing that you can't just expect to happen.
No.
So, I mean, for Seattle to win, you can't expect to win games that way.
No, I mean that was, good for Seattle to win, to show Russell Wilson, but
and the first half by Geno Smith was really, really good.
Yeah, I mean he looked a lot better than I thought he would, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and the really cool quote at the end of the game by him there.
Yeah, wait, I forgot. I saw that somewhere. What was it like?
They wrote me off, but I didn't write back.
Yeah, great quote. I love it. I love it because it's truly. I mean, I forgot he was in the league there for a little while.
So I said that to my dad. We were watching the game together. I forgot this guy was in the league. I assumed he was in the XFL or something.
He's one of those quarterbacks who just went to the Jets and just died. like, whoa, Geno Smith's still around? Like, yes, he is. And yeah, great win. I mean, good for Seattle. Good for Seattle showing Russell Wilson. And I was a bit surprised by the booing though. After he seemed like one of those straight up guys. Didn't trash talk him or anything, but I was a bit surprised by how he was received. Yeah.
He won your city a Super Bowl. That he
made it to 2.
Just had so many good winning seasons, and
never had a losing one.
Yeah, and that's how he was received. Like that is just a little odd. But
boos. Like usually you see, like before the game, it's usually they cheer him. They're walking out, they cheer him. Once the game starts, then it's okay. You're the enemy. And then after the game ends, okay, we're gonna cheer you now. But like it was just boos all out. Like people were just.
And it was hard. I know it was hard to hear for them. There were a lot of plays that went down to the very last second.
Yeah.
On the play clock before they could pull it off.
Oh yeah, for sure. One of those silent count games. So that does it for week 1 here. And now we're on to our week 2 picks, and we will get to that in just a second. We're going to take a quick break here, and we will be right back. All right, back into Mark My Words, and we're going into our week 2 predictions and picks. And we're doing this on a Friday night, so we already saw the entertaining Thursday night game between the Chargers and the Chiefs. I think we both picked the Chargers for that one.
Yes, we did.
Okay, yeah, and both wrong. Who knows, though? Who knows what would have happened if Justin Herbert didn't crack them ribs there. But close, though, with that onside kick, fumbling the ball there. There was a moment of hope there, but yeah, not going to happen. Those onside kick numbers, ever since they made those new rules, just...
Such a low percentage.
Yeah, such a low... They need to just figure something out there. I mean, something a little bit better than that. Like, we should come up... Mark our words next time. Next week, we'll both come up with suggestions for a better solution to the onside kick, because there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a more exciting way that's still, unlikely, but gives you a little bit of hope, a little more hope than that. I mean, come on, is that ever going to happen? No. But yeah, entertaining game. So I think, did you have the Chargers winning this division at the beginning of the year?
I did,
and I did as well. So how are you feeling on that? You still sticking with your guns on that one?
After watching their first 2 games as well as the Chiefs, I feel a little unconfident about that.
Yeah, a little less secure.
I mean, especially after seeing Justin Herbert banged up last night, as well as the just dominance by Kansas City in week 1.
Yeah, utter dominance.
I thought maybe see a little bit slower start for Kansas City than that, but having them 2-0 and already having a win over the Chargers, I doesn't put them in the best position, certainly.
Yeah. I mean, the Chargers kind of look like the same old Chargers to me. Like, still a good team, but I don't know. I mean, we'll have to see. Again,
tons of winnable games coming up for them in the coming weeks.
Just 2 games already. I mean, it's kind of a long season here. There's 18 weeks, but I don't know. Yeah, definitely less secure than I was to start the year on that. But all right, on to week 2 picks. So we have the New York Jets at the Cleveland Browns. Guys, I know we're all excited about the comeback of Brownie the Elf. Going to be in the middle of the field for the Cleveland Browns. How do you feel about Brownie coming back? Redesigned, but still cool.
Well, I mean, that's definitely interesting. Is it better than the color orange? I mean, it could be.
Yeah, it could be. I mean,
some may say
orange is a very provocative color, But nothing strikes fear into your heart quite like an elf does. So, an angry elf. But it actually kind of surprised me, the lack of knowledge from people on this. So Brownie the Elf was actually introduced when the Browns were a team. This was their kind of initial mascot type of thing. And a lot of people just didn't know that. They see this now and they're thinking this is a new thing. Oh, Brownie the Elf, it's a new... No, this existed from the beginning of Browns history. Mm-hmm. And then when they moved to Baltimore and became whatever, the Ravens... or the Colts, can't remember who it was. But the owner of that team just said, this is what are we doing here? It's an elf. We're not doing this. So he got rid of it. And that's kind of where it faded. So now they're bringing back. It's kind of like a retro Browns thing. So just wanted to let everyone know that Brownie the Elf is nothing new here. New design on Brownie the Elf, but Brownie the Elf itself is as old as the Browns franchise.
But with the fear that Brownie the Elf strikes into their opponents, they will come away with a win over the New York Jets, as I predict. And
oh, for sure.
Believe you as well.
Yeah. I mean, the Browns, I don't know, is Jacoby Brissett that much of a factor? I mean, really all he has to do is protect the ball because the Browns team is amazing. I mean, in my opinion, best offensive line in the league. In my opinion, best running game in the league. Had a great defensive line with Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney.
Yeah, just don't step on yourselves.
Right. Just take care of the ball. Jacoby Brissett is as good as a game manager as there is, you know.
As much as I said I've liked the Jets for the future, they're still the Jets.
Yeah, and with Joe Flacco there, it's not really their team yet.
Stick to your fundamentals, Brown. Should be a good win for them.
Yeah, should be a good, nice debut for old Brownie there. And on to the next game. So the crowd is split on this one on ESPN. 51-49 in favor of the Lions, who are facing the Washington Commanders. So who do you have for this game?
I have the Detroit Lions.
All right, so I do as well. By now, you all know how much I love the Lions, even being a Packer fan. But yeah, I mean, two kind of like opposite teams in my opinion. Commanders are, to me, one of the most boring teams in the league to watch, and Lions are just an exciting team that it just never gets old. Like Dan Campbell is, the NFL needs guys like him. It just makes the league so much more fun and more interesting.
Definitely does.
Like, how do you not watch Dan Campbell and just not smile? Like when you see Dan Campbell and those Lions like getting so fired up, like how do you not like that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, is there a team in the NFL that isn't cheering for the Lions right now? Like, come on. I feel like the Lions are the team we're all cheering for.
Yeah, they're a likable team right now.
Yes, for sure. And that Hard Knocks thing was awesome. Then we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the New Orleans Saints. So the Saints have had the Bucs number the last couple of years. No Sean Payton. How will that impact them? Who do you have winning this one?
I believe that dominance will continue, as I had the Saints prevailing in this one.
Okay. So I do have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers pulling out the win. Yeah, it's one of those things. It's like a paradox. Like, I tell myself, don't bet against Brady. But then the Saints have beaten them. They've swept them 2 years in a row, correct? I think.
Yes, they have.
So, I don't know. I nothing lasts forever, especially against Brady. So I think this could be the time. The Saints didn't really look all that good against a terrible Falcons team until the fourth quarter. Like the fourth quarter, I mean, you won the game, so that kind of, all's well that ends well. But they didn't look that great. I mean, they could not get the running game going at all. And it was kind of just Jameis Winston heroics at the end there. So I think the Bucs defense could cause some problems for him, and I think that they'll get the win over New Orleans. And next we got at 1 o'clock we got the Panthers and the Giants. And Giants, I believe, are actually favored in this matchup for some reason. And I safe to say I do have the Panthers winning this game.
As do I.
Yes, Giants, great game, as we mentioned last week, but I think we both think the Panthers are the more talented team still.
I do.
For sure.
I think Daniel Jones doesn't hold a card to Baker Mayfield, in my opinion.
Yeah.
As low as some people might think of Mayfield at this time, I still have more faith in Carolina than the Giants.
Yeah, he's going to show him. He's definitely going to show him. I think this is a tale of two running backs, though. Both coming off a couple years of injuries. They both have something to prove. And it's going to be a fun matchup between these two running games. It's definitely going to be a run-oriented game. So if that's your thing, then you should be quite entertained by this. But I don't think this is a game that at the beginning of the year was like, ugh, But it actually should be pretty exciting with how that Giants team started out.
Yes.
And then the next 1 o'clock window, we got the Patriots visiting the Steelers. Bill Belichick and Mike Tomlin, two of the best coaches in the AFC, squaring off. And who will win this one?
I have the Steelers coming out victorious in this one.
As do I. And, yeah, I mean, two coaches that you don't want to bet against. But I believe a little bit in the Steelers this year, to be honest with you, especially after seeing that game. But Patriots, this is more of a case of them just not knowing what they're doing at all.
Yeah, I would say that. I don't believe in the Steelers, but I really don't believe in the Patriots.
Yeah. I mean, that was just, I cannot get over that, how bad that is. Like my gosh, like I don't think that's an week one overreaction. Like we all expected them to be bad, and they were awful. Like, but there's no expectation they're going to get any better for me. Like, what do you expect when you don't hire an offensive coordinator? Like, that's a position for a reason. Like, what are we doing here? Like, I'm sorry, like, if they are like awful this year, I think that puts Belichick on a hot seat. And I know that sounds crazy, but if they don't have a winning record by the end of this year and they don't hire an offensive coordinator, I would think about getting Bill Belichick out of there. I really would, because he's old. They're trying to build something new. Brady's gone. The evil empire's gone. Like, that might be something to think about if you're Robert Kraft. But I digress. We have the next matchup between the Indianapolis Colts and the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is another kryptonite game. Here we're just talking about the Bucs and the Saints. This is kind of the Colts' kryptonite, the Jaguars.
I just believe that the Colts are going to get the job done, though, and they're going to get their first win.
First win of the year with Matt Ryan. Yeah, I tend to agree with that. Yeah, just the better team overall. I don't know. The Jaguars do have some upside this year. I wouldn't be all that surprised if they stole this one, but I think the Colts will get it done. Michael Pittman, questionable for this game, so that will be something to monitor. But either way, I don't think it should be too much of a problem. Then we got the Miami Dolphins visiting Baltimore to face the Ravens in this game. And who do you got coming out on top?
I have the Miami Dolphins winning in this one.
Oh, okay. All right. So I have the Ravens here. So what's your logic on the Dolphins?
I mean, even versus the Jets, I didn't think that the Ravens, even though they won pretty handily, they didn't overly impress.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking maybe Miami can get a little bit of magic together here with Tyreek Hill and Waddle and
a lot of speed on
this game.
Yeah, I mean that's not a bad upset pick. I know Ryan Fitzpatrick has the Ravens winning the Super Bowl. I mean he's saying, oh, I'll jump through a table with Bills Mafia if they win the Super Bowl, and then a little bit later he's like, oh, the Ravens are gonna win. Why'd you have to say that? But then we got the 4 o'clock window. With the Falcons, Rams, we both picked the Rams. Let's move on. Then we have Seahawks and 49ers. And I'm going with the Seattle Seahawks here to upset the Niners.
And I have the Niners. I mean, we'd gotten this game a little bit earlier.
Yeah. Seahawks looked a lot better than I thought they would. 49ers looked a lot worse than I thought they would.
Certainly.
But they're getting Kittle back, I believe, for this game. Correct?
It is looking that way.
Okay, so if that happens, it should be a vast improvement in the passing game for Trey Lance. But this is kind of like a get-right game for the Niners, big divisional game. But yeah, I think the Seahawks, that was a great win for them. I think they're really invigorated after that, and maybe if they actually use the physical specimen, the monster that is known as DK Metcalf, they might actually do a little bit better, because I think they forgot he's on their team. I think, like, what are we doing here? Can we just address this? Can we address this fact? End of last year, they did not, DK Metcalf is on your team. This man is a Hulk, okay? He should be your go-to guy on every single throw. That just has me very upset.
He's an absolute beast.
Yeah. But anyway, Cincinnati Bengals at the Dallas Cowboys. I had the Bengals winning this one, and it's going to be an absolute massacre. Joe Burrow is going to go hog wild, having probably the worst game of his career last week. He's going to
get his revenge.
Yeah, they're going to be angry. And this Cowboys team is a mess. And I assume you would have the Bengals winning this one as well.
Yes, I definitely do.
Yeah. Then we got the Texans versus the Broncos. This one had me pause for a second, but I did end up clicking the Broncos.
As did I. But yeah, it does give you a little bit of thought. As we mentioned earlier, are Houston better than we thought?
Yeah.
Is Denver a lot worse than we thought?
Right, and we aren't as high on Denver as most people are, I think, because you had them going, 7-10?
Yeah, so maybe my 7-10
right.
Doesn't look so bad now.
Yeah, I chickened out and went for 10-7, but I really am not confident in that at all. Yeah, I mean, man, if they lose to the Texans, I mean that's two of the easiest games you'll have all year. If you lose both of them,
Really
yikes.
not looking good for your season after that.
Yikes. So then we got the Cardinals and the Raiders, both losing to AFC West opponents last week. Who do you got for this one?
I have the Raiders.
As do I.
The Cardinals defense looking like they did, playing the way they did against the Chiefs. I mean, you have to think that Derek Carr and that offense can cover them up with Adams and Renfro and Waller. They're just going to go to town on them.
Yeah, early Thanksgiving Day for the Raiders. So if you got Raiders players, I would start all of them. I do have Derek Carr as my fantasy quarterback, so I'm looking forward to this one. This is like licking your chops. But Cardinals, like, I don't know. I want to believe in them, but I have a hard time after seeing that just awful game one. I mean, I had them making the playoffs at the beginning of the year. I think I recall you having them with the losing record. Is that right?
9-8. I had them at
9-8. Okay. Yeah, that's fair. That's looking pretty accurate. I mean, after one game, but yeah, I don't know. They're going to be an interesting team to me this year because they do have a lot of talent. But Cliff Kingsbury, I'm not sold on as a coach, to be honest with you. Then we got the Sunday night football game between the Chicago Bears and the Green Bay Packers. I have the Packers winning this game. Please, God.
Yes, the Packers will. I don't think it should be a good get right game for Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. This is another one of those, like, if you lose this. But two divisional games in the first 2 weeks.
Aaron Rodgers has certainly had the Bears number over the years.
Yes.
And was not afraid to flaunt that last season, if we all remember that.
While high on shrooms. While high on shrooms, which makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. But, yeah, I think so. I mean, I think they'll be a lot better. I'm not too concerned about the receivers, even. Like, that drop by Christian Watson, I'm kind of glad. Like, I'm not glad he dropped it, but I'm glad that game went so badly. Just because, like, that's kind of, like, they needed that. Like, you knew they were totally overwhelmed. But I think that, when you, like, you just mess something up so bad, like, whether it's your, new experience at a job or something, you just mess up something horribly. You're going into it with so much fear, and you just totally flunk it. You can kind of step back and kind of laugh and be like, okay, that was bad. And you kind of just feel better about the whole thing. Because it's just, now you're like, all right, I can just move on. That's out of the way. That big mistake is out of the way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I definitely get that sentiment.
So, I don't know. Yeah, I'm pretty confident, actually, in the Packers winning this game. And I think it's going to be more of a passing game than some people are going to think. But now we got the Monday night doubleheader. So it's moving to week 2 from the usual week 1. And the first game is the Tennessee Titans at the Buffalo Bills.
I mean, I think it'd be no surprise to see that I've picked Buffalo. As dominant as they were in week 1.
Yeah.
And Titans coming off a loss as well.
Rough one. Yeah.
I mean, I see nothing but a path for Buffalo to win this one. And they'll get their revenge over Tennessee for beating them the last 2 years.
Yeah. I mean, they've been better than Tennessee, like, the last couple of years. And for some reason, they just end up. It's kind of been a mismatch for them the last couple of years with that running game.
I think they're gonna get it right with Josh Allen throwing it all around the yard.
Oh, I do too. Yeah, I mean, their defense is somehow it's better than it was last year. So, yeah, I mean, they don't have A.J. Brown anymore. Yeah, this should not be too much of a worry for the Bills. And then the 8:30 Monday night game. Is the Vikings and the Eagles. So these games are going to overlap because it's 7 and 8:30, which is weird. But so who do you got winning this game?
I have the Minnesota Vikings.
As do I. So these two are two of the most hyped up teams in the NFC right now.
Yes, they are. I've seen it referred to as the top 2 teams in the NFC, which is a little bizarre.
Yeah, I heard that too. Yeah, crazy. I mean.
But it should be a good game nonetheless.
Yeah. I mean, the Vikings were impressive in week 1. The Eagles beat the Lions, so, I mean, I'm not sure what people are doing. Like, Eagles? Like, I don't know. But the Vikings are definitely for real, in my opinion. I'm not too sure about the Eagles yet. But, yeah, this should this should be a really good game.
A game I'd be interested to watch.
Yeah, and I think we'll be able to, because I think probably by halftime that Bills game might be wrapped up, so we can just tune into this game. Although you'll probably be watching the Bills game the whole time. But yeah, I mean, it should be a great week of football here. Yeah, looking forward to a lot of these games. Not quite as great as week 1, but probably the game other than our Packers and Bills game I'm really looking forward to the most is going to be that Panthers-Giants game. Just to kind of see if the Panthers start 0-2, it's going to be quite the upstir there. And the Giants, I'm going to cheer for the Giants because I'm excited looking at that Giants schedule. If they can start off 4-0, that would just be mesmerizing to me. But yeah, it's going to be a great week. And now for those bettors out there, we have Scott's parlay pick here. So why don't you tell the folks what you're feeling in the books this week?
So brand new segment we're going to put in this week. I have my parlay bets. So this week I'm going to pick 3 underdogs off of my pick'em to win. So
okay, so this is this going to be every week you're doing 3 underdogs, or is it just for this particular
Just
week?
for this particular week. I'm going to pick 3 teams every week, but for this week, they're all going to be underdogs.
He's putting
3
his
from there.
money on them. So
I
you
have
should too.
the New Orleans Saints, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Miami Dolphins. All underdogs in their games, and I believe all will win, as I had said in my pick'em.
Wait, since Steelers are underdogs?
Yes, they are.
Oh,
Steelers
Lord.
are underdogs
What's
in
the
their own
line?
house versus New England.
What? That's
One-
no way that's right.
I have them at plus 110.
+1. Oh my gosh, guys, that's bet on that
The
game
money
now before that line moves. That's guaranteed money right there. I can't believe that.
I'm getting good numbers on Miami and the Saints for what I like, so I put together a nice little parlay. I mean, not a whole lot, just a $10 parlay. Went over $100, but I like this one.
Yeah, that's a great bet. I agree with that. And Tampa Bay favored by 2.5 there. So, are you picking the Saints to cover or just straight up win
Outright.
that?
These are
Outright
all
win?
outright wins.
Oh, okay. All right. So that's bold. I like it though. I like it because those are all pretty good picks in my opinion. Although I do have the Ravens winning, but those are all picks that could definitely happen. And if you bet that win and lose, Scott will actually give you the money you bet on it. Scott, how nice of a guy are you?
Absolutely. Just so generous.
Yes, it's a risk-free bet, guys. A risk-free. Don't mark our words on that one. All right, so we got any anything else you want to add before we wrap this thing out? All right, so this is the Mark My Words podcast, episode 2. Looking forward to a great weekend of football. Doubleheader on Monday night. It's going to be awesome, guys. NFL is back, and we're loving it. And this is Mark My Words with Rob
And Scott.
and we are tuning in.